So hi
Mm.
Aryan, good to see you back. So just a small gist for the guests. So we have interacted, I guess, like 1.5 year like earlier, and
Yes,
it was an amazing
yes.
conversation. And I had to bring you back. And so how are you doing, man?
I've been great. Life has been treating me good. I'm also been embracing a lot of things that life has been putting in front of me. So
Hmm.
I've just been looking forward, learning from the things that I have been coming across, even from the people especially. I've got a lot of exposure due to the current work that I'm doing, which is more in the non-profit world. We can speak about it later on as well. But it's been really great, and I have no complaints. So it's been
That's
good. Yeah,
That's the best
yeah.
part about you, Aryan. Like the kind of mindset shift I had when I had interacted with you was something very different. Okay, I've
Okay.
interacted with a lot of people, but most of them talk about external changes and stuff. Remember, we had a conversation regarding that you were sharing your
Yes.
stories and experiences. That really
Yes.
changed me a lot. Okay, so in turn, that then I started thinking about that internal changes and stuff.
Yeah.
So okay, that has been a very big mindset shift for me. But yeah, overall
Right.
life has been great for me as well. So yeah,
Good.
starting with the first question. So very basic one, I guess, just to give the audience a little bit just about you. So
Sure.
whenever Aryan is in his life, okay, why is it like what's the story behind it? And wherever he's in life, is that because of any particular experiences, any particular person? It can be anything. Okay. So yeah, what's the story behind Aryan?
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry to cut you off the first part. I think I couldn't hear. Could you just repeat your question again, if that's all
like
right?
wherever
Yeah.
Aryan is in his life, it can be
Okay.
a story, it can be a person which made you change your thought process.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would
Yeah.
love to know that the entire process of where Aryan
Oof.
is in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Not bhari bharkam at all. Okay. So a question like this, how would I answer? I think the answer would be different from the Aryan you've met, I think, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
The Aryan currently is on a pathway where he is looking forward to what life has in terms of truth. So this is not just about being curious for the sake of it. This is also about knowing that there's so much to life that we do not know, and because of the current maybe people we might be around or the current situation we are in, maybe it's because of a certain job or anything, or the current personality you have about yourself. So here, Aryan, I have reached a point where I've been able to navigate moments where I know that everything is not a lesson per se, but an experience that should be lived. It's an experience that shouldn't be stopped by emotions. When people talk about you should work in a certain place because you love the job, things like that are things that the current Aryan does not believe in, because then that limits you to one particular experience through one particular emotion. The current Aryan does also think that emotions are more chemical reactions.
Okay.
So you choosing to introduce yourself to only one particular experience or chemical reaction is you telling life that itna hi do. And I'm not fine with that. So for me, it's the more I learn, so the more I'm open to learning. This is not just for the sake of, as I mentioned, it's not just forcing curiosity, but really being genuinely curious. So the current Aryan is currently in tandem with his inner kid also. We spoke about this a year and a half back as well. That is something that's been consistent. The idea is to keep him alive because that's the only thing that keeps a person authentic,
Mm-hmm.
is what I personally believe in. Because, the first few years of your life, besides your parents, there's no other influence on you
Absolutely.
until you're put forward in the external environment, from play school to kindergarten to, you name it, from then onwards.
Mm.
So yeah, the current Aryan is pursuing that journey and is not looking back because this is what he's really looking forward to.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's just moving ahead with chest held high. Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
That's a crazy shift. I didn't expect that. but life is
Yes.
pretty unpredictable, right? So, like I'll
Yes.
give
Yes.
you experience as what I felt. So it's like around 8 to 9 episodes which I have shot. So the
Yeah.
first episode which I had shot, it was entire. Okay, I'll ask this question, trendy topics, stuff like that. Okay,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I realized, so I heard this quote from Naval, and like in general, it changed the perspective how I interact with people now. It's
Right.
like if you're creating anything for followers,
Mm,
followers are worthless. Okay. So now it's
mm,
genuinely based on the curiosity on all the question which comes up in my head when I'm talking to someone. It's not based on
yeah,
keep the
yeah,
random
yeah,
topic,
yes,
it's like that. So
yeah,
that has been a mind shift for me as well, and I particularly agree to that. Curiosity shouldn't be forced; it should be very natural. So
yes,
just
yes.
think for that.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so just to give a little bit just to an audience as to like I guess just to give an audience your perspective as to what you did and stuff like that. So you
Mm,
got that
okay.
United Nations, right? So just tell me your
Yes.
perspective as to how did you got it in general, how you get there, and uske
Sure.
baad what you're doing right now in general.
Sure. This is going to be an answer that I have to make it more Canada centric, just because I went from being in Canada to that place, right? So I'll give you an answer like that, and I'll also speak generally as well. Firstly, for the people who might be in Canada, this is a program that you apply through an organization called UN Canada, right? It's the United Nations Association in Canada. And fortunately, the university that I'm from, which I graduated from, which is Brock University, it's located in the Niagara Falls region. It had a tighter affiliation with the UN in comparison to other universities. I'm not saying other universities do not have that, but it's the only university in Canada that has an undergrad affiliation also. So usually for the UN program, you need to have a master's degree. A
Mhm,
number one thing to know. You can't go otherwise unless you're in Europe. That's a different thing. I'll get back to that. So for me, since Brock already had that, I want to take advantage of that. So that is something you apply through like an internal university board. You're competing with people within Brock, and then they are going to choose one. There's one seat already for you. You're just competing with people within Brock, and then you're representing Brock, UN Canada, and then the organization you get eventually for UN where you go, depending on the country profile. And in my case, I happened to get that eventually. Again, it has to be intentional. The research that you do, the way you prepare your, I think, package as well while applying during the interviews, it has to be a strong package. Otherwise, you can't just get in because you're competing with master's people as well while you're in undergrad, right? So because they're choosing one person eventually. And you need to understand that when I chose Brock as university 4.5 years ago, I had this in mind that in case if I'm doing really well, there's a possibility they can actually even try for the UN position. So me choosing Brock was also very intentional by research. It wasn't just ki chalo mil gaya main ja. So please be very like wary of when you're doing research because if you go into another country and everything, you need to know what you're getting into, right? So take advantage of also what you're getting into.
mhm,
So when this is one part of the program, and then when I was part of the cohort, what happens eventually is you have to wait because they send your profile to different countries. And eventually, what's going to happen is the first country that chooses you, you go there. You have no choice. You have
अच्छा
no choice in where you're going. Yes, yes. This is what people assume कि हाँ चलो choice बहुत है दुनिया में नहीं है होता नहीं है at this point in life. You're the entry level, right? नहीं होता. So for me, I just was fortunate that I got Geneva, Switzerland as the first profile. They chose me. I was lucky because firstly
that's
they were
very
telling me I was going to go to Vietnam.
mhm,
And don't get me wrong, I would love to go to Vietnam as well. It's the place to travel. But when you start thinking of currency exchange and everything, Vietnam jaake would have been much easier for me. Geneva jaake, it was worse. Like worse as in it was more expensive because Switzerland is more expensive than the currency exchange also, right? But I happened to go there. Also, Geneva, Switzerland is the UN hub. So it's one of those things that it's how you look at it. If I'm going to a place where I know Keith, the whole city is UN based.
mhm,
I know I have much to learn just being there, right? Because I'm coming from a business background. And usually, obviously, you and have people from all over the world. But usually, when you're going into the United Nations, you have something with political sciences or something with international diplomacy, something in those regards. Now, I've had a passion for all these things, so I've had that, but I've never studied that, right? There's always that difference. So for me, I had to still tailor myself from business to that environment. I've had interest, so that helped me. So when I was there in Geneva for those 8 months from May to December of 2023,
mhm.
I think I always describe it to people like with three words. It was expensive because of obvious reasons. It was pretty because it's Switzerland. You can't go wrong with that. And third is it was humbling. The humbling aspect was something that really changed me more for the better. Not saying ki, I was carrying myself with an ego. The fact that when you go there and you see how the people are from different aspects in different places of life, you'll notice how narrow-minded you might have been, even if I would have felt ki I'm not narrow-minded. There's a difference between feeling not narrow-minded until you're exposed to the
Mhm.
rest of the world, and then you see ki acha, okay, this is how things actually are, and you wouldn't have known this until you take that opportunity, or you push yourself and you go out there. Yes, there's the UN job that I was doing where I was working for this organization called the International Organization for Migration, where within that I was working in a department where it was the nexus or a combination between climate change and migration. That was the department I was working.
Mhm.
And I had amazing opportunities. I think I was also like the only intern in the organization that they were fine with to take to a mission to Istanbul, Turkey for like a high level panel for 3 days. I had not been to Turkey, so I'm like, okay, a checklist in the bucket list, like perfect. But then at the same time, knowing how much work to do, knowing you have to push yourself, knowing you're initiating stuff, just wanting to learn, wanting to ask for more work as well. Obviously, doing quality work. You can't just ask for work and just do thoda thoda kam. Yeah, ऐसे ही कर रहे हो काम. It shouldn't be like that. So all those things matter. So once you're actually checking those boxes as well, people see it, and then people then treat you accordingly. Another thing that people should really know about the UN, especially like specifically if you're in the UN hub, is you get to see few things that you wouldn't have expected. For example, Europeans look at North Americans as North Americans. They call them North Americans. They look at them as if pata nahi kahan se, right?
Okay.
They do not resonate with our culture. Sure, they like traveling because for Europeans, where else they'll travel besides Europe? North America, yeah, usually the
Mhm.
usual trend. South Asia bhi aate hain, but first is always more North America. And you get to see there's like a mindset shift. The work culture is very different. What I've seen is Europeans are, their work ethic is more respectable because they understand what work-life balance is more than North Americans.
Mhm.
जब उनका काम हो जाता है, they really are not doing anything regarding work. Nothing. After five, they're out. Whereas North American, sure, वो भी है, but many places नहीं है North America में. They're still like, नहीं मुझे अपना Monday like I want to make it easier, so I'll work on like Sunday थोड़ा कुछ कर लूंगा इधर उधर and I'll be fine. Europeans, they jump in the lake. I'm just giving you like a wild example, but I'm telling you how balanced it is. They don't look back, right? They've done it, bas khatam. Another thing about an environment like the UN is the people you get to meet. You're getting to meet people from different countries, but in a more formal environment,
Mhm.
right? Sure, if you go to different events where it is then more informal, take advantage of it. Get to know more people a bit more on a personal level. So then you can start diving into cultures. That's very important because cultures से हमें जो सीख मिलती है, it's something that you can't get through um, for per se religious texts,
Mhm.
like in a way, because it's that's again that's a very different topic. Culture is more like it's more inclined towards faith,
Mhm.
and when you start seeing things in that manner, you are open to thinking about how the rest of the world might function and take what works for you. A good thing is you're not going to a different environment to change their culture. तुम सीखने के लिए जा रहे हो, right? So if you go with that mindset, what eventually happens is you are having so many skill sets when you come back. Just by knowing different cultures, when you speak to a person of that culture back home, if you bump into someone like that, and if they get to know even remotely, you know something about their culture, the way they speak to you is completely different versus if you know nothing about their culture.
Agreed.
It's so if you already are able to build that in yourself, just have a general like a genuine curiosity about cultures, and you already know a few things, people tend to open up more.
Mhm.
And that is beautiful because what happens is then you're able to build relationships from that. Versus if you do not know things, I'm not saying you can't, but it takes more time. It is
Mhm.
just going to take more time. People don't open up like that. It's hi, hello, stays there. Because when you compare North Americans and Europeans, North Americans are more open.
Mhm.
Europeans are laid back, they're to themselves. So if you start taking interest in their cultures, then thoda thoda, you can start making space and, they'll open up eventually. So my UN experience has been like, involving all of this. I've made sure besides work, I'm also understanding people. You
Mhm.
and me, another thing that I have taken advantage of is the kind of personalities that exist in the world. It is, it's a whole array. You will come across people who have a poker face.
Mhm.
on every single topic that exists, including like sensitive topics. Whereas you come across people who are emotional on normal topics also. So then sensitive topics is even more. Then you come across people who are in between. So
Mm,
just knowing how people are, and apparently culture plays a role. I'll give you an example. My head of department is was Portuguese,
mhm,
right, by ethnicity. So something I got to know later about people about from Portugal is they are expressive. Now he specifically wasn't. So I was basing it on him. So I'm like, oh, they're not. Right?
mhm,
So again, assumption नहीं करना होता.
mm,
किसी और से पूछ if you know if you don't ask your manager, for example, right? So since he's seen a lot in the world because he's worked on the ground for the UN. So he's been in places where people can't even think of. Now there's stories I'm not allowed to share. Can't share. But I'm just letting you know that I'm giving you an idea of when I say he can't share, I can't share.
mm,
He's been in places where it's a stone cold face now. Nothing affects him,
mm,
right? But then he's also a person who jokes and takes advantage of that poker face. And then you can't figure that out because he has a very strong poker face. So
mhm,
mujhe, like I took time to for me to really understand that. But then I came across some other people, let's say Brazilians. Another thing about people from Portugal and Brazilians is they speak Portuguese, but their Portuguese is different.
mhm,
तो जब मैंने लोगों से बात किया वहां से I got to know कि Portugal people like they are expressive. It's just that he happens to not be because of life and a few more things. So yeah, just understand these things that ऐसे चीजें exist करता है and how do you navigate yourself around that? Are you ready to be in the moment and if let's say if you feel ashamed, are you open to that? Are you open to completely knowing nothing and you could be considered stupid in that given moment? Not saying you will be considered stupid, but like if you do not know nothing because you're in a room of Europeans, for example, where they know a bit more for that country and you just wouldn't because you're not from there, are you fine with it? Right? And if you're fine with it, that's a good mindset in my heart because I believe then you are open to learning and then they'll see that. Sure, some of them will understand ki, you don't know, so they'll be ready to help you. Some might think you're dumbfounded. Hey, हर एक तरह के लोग हैं, but then you have to be fine with it because that's your reality. So I've been in all these positions and it's been great because besides humbling, it's been more me throwing myself in the moment and expecting anything. So when you're open to expecting anything, that is where it gets excited. It really triggers parts of you that maybe your body isn't comfortable with. For example, if you're open to speaking to different people, like you do this, from different calls and everything, it is still going to be different when you meet them in person,
absolutely.
right? So understanding that part of it is very important. Maybe ye karta like I haven't thought about if I want to do podcast anything yet. No idea as of now. But I've made sure I also can, if possible, meet people in person. The idea is your body has to also be in touch with meeting people, not just video, right? Because अक्सर क्या होता है इस दुनिया में we're taking advantage of technology like we should because our previous generations didn't have that. So we should continue doing that. But we should also not forget to develop our body being introduced to physical interactions. That's a different thing. That's a different game in itself. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. I know I spoke a lot here, but I hope that answers the question.
I love that answer, okay? And yeah, I particularly agree to that culture wala thing that it's like you have five baskets and you go to a different culture, you pick up
Yes.
one, you pick up one, and you pick up one. And that's the
Yes.
amazing part about all the cultures, okay? And
Right.
yeah, I particularly have a dream of, traveling across all the countries and just
Yeah.
not just traveling to famous places like, let's say if you're going to Paris, Eiffel Tower, okay,
Ha
that's
ha
fine.
ha.
But
You want to go more
getting,
local?
yeah, just getting to know the
Yeah.
culture, like uh,
Yes.
in just meeting with people, having food and that. So that
Yes.
gives you a lot of things. So that's a thing. Let's see
Yes.
kab pura hota hai. But
Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing. Okay, coming to the third question,
Yes.
which I feel would get an interesting answer. So
Go
particularly
for it.
random and stuff. Okay, so if Aryan is given an opportunity to give a TED talk,
Hmm.
what topic
Hmm.
would Aryan speak on and why?
Mhm.
Like, okay, I'll tell you the
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
I'm asking this question. Okay, so
Yes.
there are particular topics which are very close to someone's heart, and there might
Yes.
be some reasons for it. So I just want to know that reason and get into
Go.
your.
No. 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 You know what? I'm glad you even like explain it because some of the audience might even be new. So you've done your job. You've done a good job. You've explained what it is as well, right? So I think if Aryan had to speak on a TED talk, I think Aryan has the answer ready. Notice how I'm speaking third person. So it's going to be a mix of two things:
Uh-huh.
accountability and discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I mention it's a combination like of these two is because I have a genuine problem, and this is something I carry by choice. So by choice, I am like this. I'm clearing it for all the viewers right now. Okay. So when I meet people, no, first thing, let me clear this as well. I don't judge people. Never gonna judge people.
Mm-hmm.
When I meet people and then I get to know them more, and you're getting to know people on a more personal level, and you know what they're doing in their day-to-day lives,
Mm-hmm.
be it professionally, be it passion, regardless. And then you start thinking by knowing them more, ki you feel कि they can do more.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to know them, at times you can tell कि बंदा या बंदी जो भी है ते ज्यादा कर सकते हैं, ठीक है?
Mm-hmm.
When I see people not doing that, and understand this, I am also in a place where I feel I'm doing it, but I know there's always room for doing more. So I'm also applying it to myself, right? But also when it comes back to the external environment, for the TED Talk sake of it, I have a genuine problem when people are not giving their best with the resources they have at their given situation because people don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And here it comes back to morality. And yeah, you might see me speaking a bit more passionately about it. But it's because I genuinely have a problem. I genuinely have a problem and I don't speak about it. Because I would only speak about it with people who I care,
Mm-hmm.
firstly. But if there's a TED talk, I think I would still speak about it. So hence I'm letting you in on this, right? And also another reason is I feel it's like an Elon Musk perspective. Not no one's forced to do this, right? One thing I really like about him is whatever he's doing, it's for the sake of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
अक्सर हम क्या इवेंचुअली करते हैं एज पीपल इज वी आर थिंकिंग अबाउट अस एंड आवर फैमिली बस खत्म राइट
Mm-hmm.
बिकॉज वी हैव आवर फैमिली टू थिंक आई गेट दैट बिकॉज आई एम आल्सो डूइंग दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड इट बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू प्रोवाइडिंग व्हेन इट कम्स टू गिविंग बैक to just the world because you're in it so you're giving back to it like in the most literal sense यार थोड़ा तो सोचो
Mm-hmm.
थोड़ा कुछ करो ज्यादा because it's something that I feel people should just have at the back of their head without me explaining it. Like every generation has been doing that from providing. Our generation specifically
Mm-hmm.
is not sure is thinking about sustainability. Don't get me wrong, कर रहे हैं, but I'm talking about accountability. Accountability नहीं है
Mm-hmm.
मेरे हिसाब से I can be completely wrong ठीक है
Mm-hmm.
मेरे हिसाब से नहीं है and this is something I'll really speak about more is because when you have the resources you have, let's say if you're brought up in a certain way, you have a bit more resources than other people. Sure, it also, puts you in a place where you don't have to do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Generational wealth, for example, it's a thing. I get that. I respect that because your family, worked hard, you've reached there. तो नहीं करना अब. Yes, if given a chance, how would I like to think about is उतना है
Mm-hmm.
और करो.
Agreed. Nice.
Not talking about greed. It can be seen as greed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about जितना है उसके हिसाब से किया करोगा. एटलीस्ट तो अगर और मिलेगा श्योर और करो बट एटलीस्ट एट द मोमेंट जितना है
Mm-hmm.
उतना तो कर लो measure it like so it's about morality to the most
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think the most deepest sense when it comes to humanity because I like to think about it like that and I feel if people start doing that just for themselves कि चलो हम कुछ कर रहे हैं उसके लिए at least even if they start thinking that's fine as long as they start doing it we will grow at a much faster pace when it comes to growth, just as humans, just us as a generation, we'll grow more. We aren't able to because of multiple reasons, but I wish people understand this. I wish people come to this conclusion without me explaining it. That is
Mm-hmm.
called growth. That is called growth. Not because look, everything is a choice. I understand that. So this is just me. I wish ye dunya mein hai. Like I wish ye or hai. Yeah. So I would speak about that.
That's pretty much nice perspective. Love that. And I feel that in my circles as well, people who have like well established businesses, and like
Yeah.
particularly the way they behave and their family behave is very different than people who are just running to fulfill their needs, right? And I
Yes.
uh, if the way someone behaves, someone like person A who is running for the needs, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a family to fulfill and stuff. Second one,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
have already fulfilled their family needs, maybe three generations to come. But if the way they behave, they would
Yeah.
have behaved, man, it would have been a different scenario
मैं
altogether for
बता रहा
them
हूँ,
as well,
वही
and
बता रहा
also
हूँ
for their
क्या.
own. So agreed, full for kudos to you for answering that. And yeah, okay. So what I knowing about work and stuff, I would love to know ki what Aryan does now in his free time.
Yeah, so that's the thing now. So like, it's something I'm struggling with right now actually, and I've been in a phase where I'm soon gonna get a permanent full time job, and then there's once there's something stable like that. Because I've been doing contractual jobs till now, so once I have something stable like that, I can have more flexibility with what Aryan does in his free time. I can actually answer that. What I would do is once I get that job is get back to something I've not done in a while. Two things. This is something I envy you for, by the way. So long back, I'm talking 7, 8 years.
Okay.
I was playing the guitar and I was singing.
Okay. Now I get it. Hmm.
Yes, yes, exactly. For the viewers to know, the guy plays guitar and sings himself. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things. And so this is something I really want to get back to because I even told my parents to get my guitar this time for graduation. They actually got mine. So it's here now, so I can actually
Hmm.
practice. Hopefully soon, like maybe end of this month. That's the aim.
Hmm.
The other thing is getting back to dance. Now, dance was something I've done as a kid. If you just give me a first option as a kid, I've always been drawn towards that.
Hmm.
So it's still there. And something I really like to do is learn dances from different cultures. Specifically, I have a few in mind since I think I resonate with songs from those genres more, those cultures, is Afrobeats and Espanol music. So Espanol would be more, again, I'm talking salsa and bachata. Bachata is more of an intimate dance form where, like, two people are like really close. So it's like it's not for everyone, maybe as well.
Hmm.
I've already done that before. So yes, look, I work on myself in general as a guy, yes. But to be in an environment like bachata as well, you need to have a different confidence because you'll be switching partners with different females of different ages every 5 minutes, for example. So having a comfort that comes down to the physical aspects of things, because it's going to be it's the dance is more physical than you're not connecting from here. You're connecting by touch there. So having comfort like that, again, that's what I'm saying. It's not for everyone, right? So for me, that and Afrobeats just because I just love the African culture. There's just so much depth to how they are as people, and yeah. So just getting back to that, actually, like going for literal classes. What happens, at least in North America, how they go about is they have classes first, and then they have like a open social of 2 to 3 hours over the night.
Hmm.
Whatever you've learned, for example, apply it.
Oh, that's nice.
And yeah, they have like different like people all around, and people are open to dancing with anyone. I'm pretty sure थोड़ा कम हो गया होगा बट इन इंडिया फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ भी करने से पहले देयर माइट बी समथिंग कि आई वांट टू सी हु आई एम गोना डांस विद.
Hmm. Agreed.
I'm pretty sure it exists, like it might have reduced, sure, because
Hmm.
we become more open, we become more global as countries in general, but I'm pretty sure it's still there, it's still rooted irrespective of generations, it's still there.
Hmm.
I'm trying to tell you कि ये नहीं है इधर. So if you're a person who's so and so from a certain country, that thing of कि चलो हम इंडिया से हैं या हम यहाँ से वहां से हैं does not exist in that given moment. So it's also another thing about, so do you want to take advantage of that, right? Because then you're getting exposed to things in a way where you wouldn't otherwise because of mindsets. It comes back to mindsets, honestly. So it's these are the things Aryan would do, right? And he's waiting for when a few things are done, and right when it's done, he's gonna make sure he's gonna take out time because again, people say they don't have time, and trust me, my friends barely get time with me.
Hmm.
The current job that I'm doing, I go from Niagara to Toronto. I'll tell you the commute. It's 2.5 hours by bus, one way. मैं जा रहा हूँ फिर आ रहा हूँ फिर काम भी कर रहा हूँ उधर, राइट?
Wow.
आ भी रहा हूँ same day, yeah, and I'm going thrice a week. Okay, So समझ लो 12 12 and a half hours in commute, right? And it's a non-profit. To give you again more exposure,
Mm.
the non-profit that I'm working for is called the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. It's the largest non-profit, firstly, in Canada. The reason I'm a part of it, or I've liked working, is because firstly the culture, the work, and the access. The access it has to different events and people is top tier. Corporates also can't provide that to you
Wow. Mm.
because you're meeting families, philanthropists who have the money to have those needs of, they want to provide. Sure. Are they doing it for a tax write-off? We don't care. We want the money there. We're doing it for a better cause. We are taking for cancer research and many more things, right? So we only think about that. So I have come across people over there as well where it's more of a learning curve. I'll be very honest, since we like being honest here and being transparent. It's a very, very, very whitewash environment. The amount of whitewash I'm speaking, like it's in the name, the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. Like you need to like just by that you need to understand that it's a very whitewash environment. So it's still a good thing because for me, I'm learning still, right? Sure, I'm like one of those people, very less in number from who's not the usual white, for example.
Mhm.
But since I'm all about culture, I know many things. I can fit in, arams, and they love me as well. And just working there, doing those commutes and everything. Sure, you're not paid the most, but we have also like I feel we're reaching a point where your 9 to 5 shouldn't doesn't have to be your main source of income.
Mhm.
It'll take time for me to build that. I have something on the side which is more than my 9 to 5. Sure, but I'm down for that. That's my aim. I want to rather work a 9 to 5 where I'm driven, where I have access to places I wouldn't have otherwise. So my network is my net worth. I have always gone by that saying. So I've been very strategic with that as well. There's a reason I'm hoping I maybe get my full time job even there as well, is because it gives me access to people you wouldn't even consider bumping into. The other day, I had met this person. His name is Connor McDavid. He is like Dhoni for cricket, for NHL,
Mhm.
ice hockey for people, and he's the best in the world currently. I met him at his family fundraiser because we were the charity partner.
Wow, that's nice.
बं- बंदा हेलीकॉप्टर में फ्लाई करके गोल्फ कोर्स पे लैंड हुआ. Like, so there's some things you just wouldn't expect. Like, sure, golf course, okay, we're expecting. We all drove and came like but then apparently a few things happened. He was late, so they're like, okay, let's just fly you. So you
Wow.
get to know about, okay, that's rich. Yes, yes, you get to see it. Nice. But then you also see, the humbleness and the matureness behind the person. The guy's 27. I thought he's 40 when I spoke to him. That's the level of maturity. That's the level of exposure you get to. It's the grind. People have to be the best. Why the best? When you see even a high hello, you'll notice difference in mindsets, difference in work ethic.
What does happiness means to
Mm,
us? What is happiness?
mm. I think
We can answer as well. Like, what do you think happiness is? Like, yeah.
mm, I think happiness to Aryan would mean not living a life of regret. Firstly,
Mhm.
why that specifically is because when you realize you haven't, when you realize you wanted to do something
Mhm.
and then you haven't,
Mhm.
it sticks to you. It just sticks to you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And वो नहीं चाहिए. लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम्स आते रहते हैं, एटलीस्ट वो अवॉइड कर सकते हो, right? And another thing that you happiness would mean to Aryan is just embracing life for what it has. Now there's some things it might not have for me, fine, but I'm also open to things that it might not have. It's the idea that I'm bold enough to be open to whatever there is to life, and it is not for everyone. The reason I say that, it's not because of ego. No, it's because of life is it's more serious than people can think. People say, be happy, this, so and so. Yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like, oh, do you even want to leave a legacy? People can think about life in different ways, right? Sure, leaving a legacy is also an important thing for many people. For me, it's about how much I have been able to help or provide.
Creative
Uh,
impact.
yeah, it's more to people, not just moment. It's not just that, we have a moment as well in those moments. So like, yes, those moments are created,
Mhm.
but it's about I like to really have relationships with people established because the amount I get to know from people's experiences helps me to think in a way as if chalo I've lived some part in a way by listening to their thoughts कि I don't have to live their experience anymore in a certain manner because अब मैंने वो जान लिया.
Mm.
I like to it's like AI, the more information you feed, the more it's experienced. Sure, I can't live it, but to some extent you can, provided you're that open to life. You have to be that open to life to then even give those things a try. If I've heard something from a certain person, I wouldn't know if it's true. Right? Sure, they're speaking about their culture. The only way I'll get to know is if I ask another person from their culture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you dare to ask that though? It could be controversial. It could be simple also, right? Could be um, across the array for things.
Mm.
So it's just knowing that, keeping the curiosity there, knowing, yes, you need to know where to draw the line with some people. But I like to think that, I do. So I know how much I can ask a certain person, or at least build a relationship with the person to a point where then I can then ask those questions. Happiness also means understanding the depth of life. There's a quote, na, grass is green on the other side.
Mm.
Very, very like a very go-to. I think grass is greener where you water it. Difference है mindset man, different है take man. Another mindset could be if
हिंदी
yeah.
हिंदी में एक लाइन है लाइक आई गेस यू वुड नो हिंदी ना थोड़ा मतलब pretty much
यार मैंने पढ़ा है, लिखा है, सीखा है, बताइए, फरमाइए.
ओके वो कहते हैं कि जिंदगी कि दुनिया तो है जादू का खिलौना कि
Yeah,
दुनिया तो है जादू का खिलौना जो मिले
Irshad.
वो माटी और जो ना मिले वो सोना.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, right. Just another extension to that, because I came across it recently, and that really, not recently, like a year back or something, but that has been at the back of my head. Is if you take two worlds, okay, one is caged in like a dark place, niche in a cave, and
Mhm.
is one is caged ऊपर जमीन पे, access to air, moonlight, sun, सब कुछ. Who do you think will survive?
Obviously one with like sunlight and like freedom stuff.
Right, right, right.
Mm.
So I came across the answer where the person said it's who you feed.
It's
It's who you feed.
who you
जिसको
feed.
खिलाते हो, जिसको खिलाते हो.
Context behind that, who you feed like जिसको
I'll
खिला
tell you.
अच्छा फूड खिलाते हो.
Yes.
Okay.
Try
Mm.
and deep that.
Okay. Yeah. That.
Sure, so the idea is you can have the best environment as well.
Mm.
But in the end, it's who it's who decides to even take that as an opportunity. Again, it comes back to, can you identify what an opportunity is?
Mm-hmm.
It's a skill set. It's a skill set.
Mm-hmm.
People say it's not, I believe it is. At times, if there's no opportunity, I have reached a point where I can create one.
Mm.
Is it apne dam pe? Yes, many a times. But many times it's through, I know people, and if I ask the right questions, and if if I tell them a few things about me, then they also might be like, hey, since you mentioned this and I know you like this, do you want to try that? Like, knowing how to even identify an opportunity is very important, and then acting on that. Two different things, but they need to go hand in hand. So that's also that also means a lot as happiness for Aryan, because identifying opportunities, be it professionally, be it non-professionally as well. This could be me bumping across someone who could be a very close friend of mine in the future, but I do not know. It's an opportunity I have to try,
Mm.
right? So it's applying it not just professionally, it's applying it just through the whole stature of life. So I think that's what happiness would mean to Aryan, or at least that's what he's aiming for. Mm.
And like one thing I feel is like the same question I was thinking about it, and what I feel is happiness in general is what we think about. Everybody's running for happiness, but
Yes.
what I feel is there is a story na, where it's like एक हिरन की स्टोरी रहती है. He's looking for that smell, and at the end that smell is inside him. Okay.
Mm,
That's my take on happiness. Like we are running all across the world for happiness, but
yeah,
it's just inside us. Like inside us in the sense it's all depends on us. So that's
you're
my
right.
and
Yeah, come across that as well. Could I extend on to that if that's all right with you?
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
I know we're reaching a point where the world is more towards everything is internal, happiness is internal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed, but there's now a whole trend where people now are coming back to the idea of you have to be happy first before anything,
Mm.
right? We've reached that point where almost a lot of people think like that. I still feel it's like a yes and no.
Okay, why do you think so? Like,
Yes, because as much as a person would think it's internal,
mm-hmm.
it is connected to what you see externally.
Mm. Yeah.
तुम उसको कैसे देखते हो is up to you.
Mm.
People are now narrowing it down to just in like you need to be happy first internally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking in a way where it's connected. It's not about external or internal. It's about knowing that fine balance कि internal भी होना चाहिए, external भी होना चाहिए, पर दोनों होना चाहिए.
Mm.
दोनों depend on each other. Not कि ज्यादा internal, कम external, ज्यादा internal. Even that is me personally speaking. I feel it's not the best way of being exposed to life because what's happening is then you're again choosing to be narrow minded as a tunnel vision. I get what people mean by that. Don't get me wrong. Having internal happiness, I would say, is key because you shouldn't expect that from another person
Mm-hmm.
unless you know family, friends. You start expecting. It's human nature. Fine. Internally bhi hona chahiye. Yes, many people do not do that at times. So yes, that's a conversation people should have. Ki internal happiness is should be first, but it's not about first or last. ये भी होना चाहिए, वो भी होना चाहिए. अब क्या? What I've noticed is ये ज्यादा हो रहा है. Internal happiness because you know for in all fairness because वो कम था अभी तक.
Mm-hmm.
So fair. I hope people don't forget कि it's connected. It's not about increasing that and then फिर what's gonna happen is eventually I don't need you. Well, our trend will start. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need you. And that will again create differences between humans even more because humans are social creatures. अगर happiness पूरा अपने आप अंदर मिल ही रहा है तो फिर you think there's going to be why would a person communicate with another person? Let's say if you have all happiness
Mm-hmm.
stored,
Mm-hmm.
you have nothing left. What memory are you trying to create? सब कुछ अंदर है ठीक है तो फिर
Mm.
that's my take. That's my take. So I just thought I add that as well.
That's an interesting take.
It's
Okay.
like it's not like just that. It's like a back and forth thing, knowing when to sit like either in the driver's seat or passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things. So yeah.
That's an interesting date, and that opened up so a lot of questions for me to ask. But that's the setup for the show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you questions right after the show, a little bit
Okay.
regarding
Perfect.
after that. But thank you for coming in general, and it really means a lot that you came up. So in general, do you have any advice for me? Just it can be anything.
Can be anything. I would like to. Okay. Without knowing what you're currently doing in general. Yeah. Okay.
It can be a random advice, like depending upon your experience of life in general. So it can be anything.
Dare to know.
Dare to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Any context on that?
Yes. Now this is again. This is not me from knowing things. This is just like if I had to think of something, what would I want to say to you? It was one of those things, right? Dare to know is because something. It's on my Instagram as well. I've written it in a different language. You'll see it. Like if you go,
Mhm.
Vista Cars is like a different language as well. But dare to know basically means that it's more from an accountable point of view.
Mhm.
If you have questions in life, if you have thoughts in life, छोड़ो मत. अक्सर क्या होता है is ओ कुछ आगे बीच में, and
Mm.
then you forget the thought. Maybe you want to journal it, or rather, for example, if you have to eat dinner, parents are calling. Small example, right? Small example.
Mm.
In that moment, if you don't write it, ठीक है, what happens is you might forget the thought. Either you bring the conversation to your parents, that's one, or before going to class, be like, Mama, 10 minute do.
Mm,
Sit, think it through, experience that thought, let it go all over you, imbibe yourself in it, swim in it if you have to. But dare to know comes from having a thought to wanting to know, again about life, because there's so much. There's so much. There are things which comes down to physical aspects, mental aspects, emotional aspects, and spiritual aspects.
mm,
Not many people go for the spiritual aspects. I still am not fully uh, exposed because I choose not to as of now. I'm still choosing not to. It's still a my thing.
mm,
But knowing it's there and knowing eventually you want to and not letting go of it. Knowing ki every like physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual have their own key aspects in itself.
mhm,
Don't disregard it. अगर सोच आया सोचो सोचो. So I'm just saying, yeah, it's dare to know, have the curiosity, and I'll let you know right now. It can, if you decide to speak about it to people, some people might find you very straightforward, right? So this is, I'll tell you something about me. I'm 23 right now.
mhm,
Um, Straight male. Giving more context, I'll tell you why I'm speaking about it in this way. It's because either if you come across males, come across females, or anyone, identification, many things have come into the picture now. When I'm meeting people, I'm staring them into their eye as if I'm talking to them to their soul. Not scaring them. It's coming from a sense of curiosity, but it's too much for them. It's because I dare to know. I want to know you. I'm coming with the most curious mindset. When I'm here, I want to know you. So when I'm asking something, they figure it out. They know I'm wanting to know a person, but not culture-wise. Also, not many people are exposed to that. Oh, किसी को जानना है? Like versus, is that allowed? Some people they don't even know if you can ask that. So I'm
mhm.
saying dare to know. I do that. It comes with repercussions, right? At times, people let you know. The ones who really want to not let you know, sure. Then you say okay and you move on. You don't say ki, nahi batao. You don't do that obviously. But yeah, I hope that helps. Maybe a thought.
And that
Yeah.
really helps. And like that's a very interesting take as well. Oh, I'm gonna rewatch the episode first, but
All
that's
right.
something. I don't care if anybody watches it or not, but I'm gonna watch it again.
No,
So
I
yeah,
might watch as well. I might show this to my friends as well. Just letting you know.
yeah. Oh, that would be good, right? So ending
Perfect.
that
Right.
on that note, and thank you for coming. Really means a lot.
No problem, man. No problem.